of the 12-Step Program. The Toughest Today, live with Mary.
Restoring hope, open my heart to sing, taking the darkness inside, revealing your light, restoring hope, open my eyes to see the world through different eyes, revealing your light, restoring hope.
Good day. This is RestoringHopeLive.com, a program that helps you deal with life's hurts, habits, and hang-ups. We want to shout out to Kaylee, who wrote us a wonderful letter last week. I don't share those letters unless I get permission from the other individual. And in this case, I hadn't heard, but it was a touching letter as to how the Holy Spirit worked through this program and touched somebody's lives. We, as that music was playing, Pastor and Dr. Mike Hartwig, my co-host, was praying for us for that very same thing. So we appreciate you being here. This is a program led by the Holy Spirit and prayer and a faith in Jesus Christ that for some people, it's just second to none. It's the most important thing in their lives. Restoring Hope Live is not necessarily directed, programmed, or given to help the addict or the alcoholic or the one in depression or the one who's being emotionally or sexually abused. It's designed for you, the mothers, the fathers, the sisters and brothers, the spouses, the cousins, the workmates, the shepherd or the sheep. It's designed to give you an idea if you've got somebody in your life and the chances that you have someone in your life who suffers from life's hurts, habits, and hang-ups is high. I'll never forget the day my pastor, and I've said this too many times on this program, but he started out a sermon that he was doing on addictions, and he pointed to an anonymous row and said, there's 10 of you in that row, and he rattled through, and there were 10 things wrong with those 10 people. They were alcoholics, they were addicts, they were having affairs, they were abusing medicine, there was pornography. It's just the state of everyone. And if you think the church is any different, then it's not. The church is a hospital for sinners. It's not a cruise ship for saints, okay? Well, maybe the Baptists, I'm not sure. Because Mike's a Baptist pastor. When I knock Baptists, I don't really mean it. I'm really just razzing Mike over here. And so what we're doing now in a series, we did it last week and this week, and then we're going to take a break and introduce you to some other cool people and their stories about how Jesus changed their lives. But today, Mary is with us, and you will, if you're watching this on a podcast, Mary's silhouette will show up because she does have a life outside of the 12-Step Program, and that's one of the reasons why Anonymous is so often in the name. And so we're going to just respect Mary but appreciate the fact that she's here. Last week we did step 1, 2, and 3. So just kind of generalize what we did in that program last week for those folks catching up.
Hi, Mac. Thank you. We talked about steps 1, 2, and 3 last week, as you said, and we admitted, step 1 is we admitted we were powerless over alcohol and that our lives had become unmanageable. And then in step 2, we talked about how we have to come to believe that a power greater than ourselves can restore us to sanity, restore us to healthy thinking, balance, proportion, because when we get here, we don't have that. And then step 3 is that made a decision to turn our will and our lives over to the care of God as we understood Him. And so then we've established a relationship with a higher power at this point so we can move on and go work the other steps. Again, step 1 is, admitting the powerlessness. Step 2 is making a decision about a higher power. And step 3 is making a decision to have a relationship with that higher power.
And let's remember, and I've said this before, and I'll remind us of this every day that we do this. If you replace the word alcohol with whatever hurt, habit, or hang-up you have in your life, this program will work for you too. I wish somewhere in the world, in high school or middle school, or at least as a mature young adult, I could have learned these 12 steps, because these steps do not teach us how not to drink. They teach us how to live life on life's terms.
Exactly. I know for me that when I started drinking, it was because there was all kinds of hurt in my life. When I started drinking alcoholically, if you will, I'd had a high school sweetheart break up with me. My grandmother who lived with us had died, and I was in the bars underage every Friday and Saturday night drinking myself into a blackout. That's how I dealt with life.
Yeah.
Okay. And I come here and I learn that there's a different solution. I don't have to have that drink of alcohol to cope anymore, okay? Because when I take a drink of alcohol, I get drunk, I get in trouble, I black out, and that's not a good place to be.
And you haven't done that in 31 years.
Exactly.
31 years sober.
Yeah.
All right, welcome, Dr. and Pastor Mike. Nice to see you today.
Yeah, nice to see you.
Bob, nice to have you here. Bob Montserrat, one of our co-hosts, one of the nation's leading experts in alcohol. He's a forensic scientist and has given testimony at over 1,000 trials over the years on people who unfortunately have messed their life up with alcohol. What's the one? I mean, you grew up with an alcoholic father.
That's correct.
Uncles.
Yes,
You were
correct.
fortunate that you didn't catch that bug or don't have that disease, or you were smart enough to never test it. What's something that is common among people who die because you're involved in coroner? Help me. The thing the coroner does.
Well,
Autopsies.
investigating deaths.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's one of the most common things from somebody who died from alcoholism?
Well, the way it destroys the body, for one thing. And, many of the crimes that we're involved in, in the crime lab, alcohol is involved in most of them.
Yeah.
And so, drinking, driving, I'm dealing with those all the time. I get death investigations that I analyze. And that's why I testify in court, because people are out there killing each other on the highways. They're killing each other with homicide cases. So alcohol, and other drugs, but alcohol is primarily the one because it's the easiest to get a hold of. You go through the store. I was at one of the local grocery stores, and there were just aisles and aisles and aisles of alcohol. So it's readily available. People take it, and then they go out and commit crimes under the influence of that drug.
Not to go down a rabbit trail, we're not going to pursue this, but just a question. Does marijuana play as large a role in your investigations in death and murder and debauchery as alcohol does?
Well, yes. In one point in time, we did some statistics, and we knew that of the alcohol-related cases, 40% of the people also had marijuana within their system.
Okay.
So, it's something that's very common, too, along with alcohol. But alcohol is primarily number one.
All right, Mary, this is RestoringHopeLive.com. Phone lines are open if you want to make a comment, 855-244-0077. That's also on our website at RestoringHopeLive.com. We're going to take our first break, and then when we come back, I've surrendered my life and will to God, and the next thing I do is I'm clearing the wreckage of my past, right?
Yes, absolutely.
And we're going to talk pretty in depth about how we do this, because this isn't just a sit down and I was a real jerk. Yes, you were. Please forgive me. Okay. This is a fearless and moral searching of our who we are and our character defects and those things that we have to fix inside of ourselves. So when we come back, we'll talk about that. I do want to thank our sponsoring partner in Transformations Treatment Centers. They're in Florida. They are a Christ-centered 12-step program, and the thing that is so great about these people is they know that they meet you where you're at. They don't take you dragging and kicking and screaming and try to put you in a place that they think you should be in. They're right. You should be in that place, but we also know the gentleness that has to apply to someone who has gotten to the point where they require rehab. And I know rehab's this cool, popular word in Hollywood. That's a bunch of baloney. Real rehab is real rehab. It is you are one step away from death because of your abuse, and you finally reach out, or you are told to reach out and seek the kind of help that you need. And Transformations does just that. Feel free to call them. They have a number on our website. You can look it up and reach out to them when you need that kind of help. We're coming back.
Restoring hope.
All across America, there are countless numbers of people struggling with addiction and other life-controlling issues. Probably someone you know and love. There is a way out. There is hope. Transformations Treatment Center in Delray Beach, Florida, has a unique approach to substance abuse treatment. Call now and ask about our Guaranteed Success program or log on to transformationstreatment.com. Transformations. Change your life. Change your relationships. Transform your world.
Next time you're looking for something to do with your spouse, try this.
A Marriage Moment with Dr. Mike Hartwig for Marriage Matters Live.
Get in the car with your spouse and tell them that you're going to go to the 25th restaurant that you pass. Now, it might be McDonald's, or it might be an expensive steakhouse, or it might be fish and chips, or it might be hot dogs. One couple we told this to passed a restaurant the husband liked so much that he kept driving around the block until they reached their magic number. So to counter that, every time you come to a major intersection, flip a coin. Heads, you turn right. Tails, you turn left. One person concentrates on driving, and the other one concentrates on counting and flipping the coin. It's a fun night out that you never know where you're going. It could be pretty fun, or it could be pretty dull. But whatever the case, strong couples have learned how to have fun no matter their circumstances.
This Marriage Moment and Marriage Matters Live is a ministry of Restoring Hope Live, heard Sundays on this station.
Restoring hope.
Jill, why don't you tell the class what you did this weekend?
Well, my dad and I went in search of some magical minnows and found a zillion of them in the stream from our lookout rock. Then my sister and I escaped from an evil slug king and went back to my super twig fort for safety. Then we told stories till it got dark, and the Big Dipper led us all the way home.
Where were you, Jill?
We went to the forest. It's not that far away.
Ask your parents to take you and your friends to the forest this week. It's closer than you think. Check out discovertheforest.org. Brought to you by the U.S. Forest Service and the Ad Council.
The Pocket Testament League presents Pocket Power. Read, carry, and share the gospel every day. Tongue-tied when it comes to witnessing? Then let God's Word do the talking for you.
I found the Pocket Testament and the reference pamphlet very helpful in breaking the ice with people. Everyone seems to own a Bible, but not one seems to know where to go for specific needs. The ready references alone can guide anyone through the process of salvation.
This is Mike Brickley, president of the Pocket Testament League. League members have found that any place is a good place to share a pocket gospel with someone they meet. Join us and you'll always be ready. Is there anything more important?
And you don't have to be a scholar, just able to read the references. Want to know how to succeed in Christian life? Just look in the reference pamphlet. It's great.
What are you waiting for? Read, carry, and share the gospel every day. For more information, call 1-800-636-8785 or visit pocketpower.org. That's pocketpower.org.
Today, millions are struggling with alcohol or drug addiction. If you or people you know struggle with a chemical dependency where a substance owns you, and you have other struggles such as depression, anxiety, or trauma that can often go along with it, get your freedom back and successfully transform your life from one controlled by addiction to a clean, sober, fulfilling life. Contact Transformations Treatment Center, where our caring professionals will help you find your freedom. Transformations Treatment Center offers both a 12-step and a Christian 12-step program, providing healing for the mind, body, and spirit. Take the first step by visiting transformationstreatment.com or by calling 877-989-8223 today. At Transformations Treatment Center, we understand the pain. Call now, 877-989-8223. Get your freedom back. Transform your world.
Restoring hope. Open my heart to sing. Taking the darkness inside. Revealing your light. Restoring hope.
Welcome back to RestoringHopeLive.com. Mary is in the studio today as we unpack the 4th, 5th, 6th, and 7th step of a 12-step program. Now, to be fair to my partner, Dr. Hartwig, the 3rd step, which says a God of my understanding, you have a challenge with that.
Well, yeah.
All right.
Simply yes.
And I respect that.
Okay.
And I think someday you and I'll do a show on that.
Okay.
Okay, because I think that's important. Because I was the same way. I don't know if you remember, Mary, when I first got sober, but there was a couple times that I got in, I was mad. What do you mean God of my understanding? There's only one God. What are you talking about here? And then, of course, as I got through the program, I realized how important of my understanding is. So
if I could just say, I was at a 12-step meeting on Monday. I was there with you. And there's some wording in one of our publications that says God either is everything or he is nothing. What is your choice to be? And I paraphrase that. And person after person after person said, before I came here, I didn't believe. Or before I came here, I thought that God didn't love me. I thought God was, mean, mad at me, whatever. And now, through this program, through this process, I go to church every Sunday.
Yeah.
I have a relationship with Jesus. I have a relationship with God. I mean, person after person after person said that. So it's really hard to doubt that this process, however it is, that we love people when they get here, and we allow them the time they need to get where they need to go to have that relationship with the higher power. It was amazing for me.
Yeah, and that's a good example when I said earlier that you apply these 12 steps to anything in your life. And it could just simply be non-belief. Yeah. Apply these steps, and you'll get to Jesus. Eventually, it gets to Jesus. Okay.
Okay. Step 4 is made as searching and fearless moral inventory of ourselves. And I have done a few of those in my 31 years. The most recent, a couple years ago, and it has been the most effective and the most detailed. Okay. And the 4th step is a fact-finding, fact-facing, not a judgment of self, okay? But it is just listing the facts. And if we talked about last time that the root of our problems is selfishness and self-centeredness, how that manifests itself in an alcoholic is that it comes out in resentment, fear, and inappropriate sex relations, okay? And step 4 is to look at those areas of my life in depth. First call, and I was told always before you do any work in this program that I say a prayer and I ask for guidance and I ask for help, okay? And I was also told that the first column is a list of names, okay? I was told the first time to sit down, say a prayer, talk to God, let him know what I'm doing, and ask for his help and guidance, okay, as I go through the process. And I was actually told to look at the names as gifts from the Spirit, okay? You know what I thought about that advice? I don't even like some of these people on the list,
right?
Let alone look at them as a gift from the Spirit. You've got to be kidding me.
Yeah.
But what that meant was because those names were going to give me some freedom on the other side. Because finally I could look at those resentments and look at how they had affected my life, okay? So the first thing is there's 4 columns, and the first column is the name of the person, okay? So I was asked to do a head, heart, gut dump. And then to go back and write all the names down. Just column 1, just write the names as they come to me, as I've been in prayer and meditation. Who are the names? Who are the people? And just write them out, all right? And then my next exercise was to go back and have column 2 where I list what the resentment is, okay? And I might have 1 resentment on a person. I might have 10 resentments on a person. It just depends on the person. And then to take, and do a column 2 and write down what are all the resentments for that person. All right, and then
So how would that look? I mean, you write down.
So I would go in and write down
my mother.
Right. So I write down mom, and then I write A, and I was told to do it like in 8 words or less. A,
Mom beat the living daylights on me.
Yeah. B, mom favored my brother. C, mom never told me she loved me. Whatever. Okay. And so then I go on, and that's number 1. Then number 2, dad. Okay, then A, B, C, D for dad, okay?
So these lists could be huge.
Absolutely. Absolutely. The gentleman that walked me through the steps said he had 85 names on his list.
Holy smokes. And he's keeping track of them all?
Why don't you get a piece of paper out and use me?
Yeah, and just put you out as number 1.
But I'm serious.
No, you mean use you as one of the people?
Yeah, put my name down and then talk about the resentments that you have against me.
I don't have any resentments about you. You're not worth my time.
Okay, we're in denial.
Which is a river in Egypt. So yeah, it could be a very long list. Now the key is when I go back to actually do a column 3 and column 4 on these names and resentments.
Well, it's column 3.
Column 3 is that I list what did it affect for me.
Wait. Column 2 is the offense.
Yes.
And then column 3 is?
Column 3 is I look at and say, how did that affect my self-esteem? How did it affect my pride, my ambition? How did it affect my...
Okay, time out. Let's use an application. My mom beat the living daylights out of me. So I would put number 1.
Uh-huh.
as mom.
Right.
Or let's use this illustration, not my stepmom, but my mom gave me up for adoption.
Okay.
Okay. So I remember there was a huge time in my life I was tremendously resentful toward mother figures.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I'd write, Mom,
Gave me up for adoption.
Got me up for adoption.
So then how did that...
Step 3 would be...
Column 3.
Column 3 would be...
How the first thing is self-esteem. How did that affect my self-esteem? And it's in what I'm to write down there is what is my deep belief about who I am. So I was born a beautiful, healthy baby who deserved the love, affection, attention of my birth mother. That would be how it affected your self-esteem.
Okay, good.
Okay. And so then I
but
go...
now what if I didn't even think about that. I mean, that...
No, but and I was told, to push it. I mean, because what happens is a lot of times our ego gets in there and we think we have rights and we think we have a way people should treat us. All right. So you have to really kind of push it. When I said that, I saw you kind of smile like, yeah, exactly.
Right.
That probably is who I was. Of course, you didn't think about it. You were a newborn baby. But as you think back to it, how did it affect your self-esteem? Because what was wrong with me when the truth is there really was nothing wrong with you. It had everything to do with your mom. But you've internalized it and made it personal your whole life.
So what I hear this coming about is saying, okay, so you have column 1 is the person. Column 2 is what was the offense. But in column 3 would be, why is that offensive? Why was that a problem?
I have to look at that in depth. And let me tell you, in the world, not even in the program, because in the program there's few people that do it this way as well. In the world, there are few people that look at their lives this in depth. I mean, this took me 4 or 5 months to do this. Okay.
You got 85 names.
I didn't. Somebody else did, but I had probably 40 names. But the thing is, you go back then again, after you get your column 1 and the column 2 with the offenses, you pray and you go back and you know which ones are huge and which ones you have to deal with.
Pivotal.
Because here's what happens. After a while, different name, different resentment, same reason. Different name, different resentment, same reason. And the point of all of this is to never, ever leave the major one out, but to the major resentment out.
Oh,
so I can't
not the major parent.
So I can't, no, you can't leave. So if I have one that's just really bugging me and I've never talked to anybody, I don't wanna, that's wrong, okay? Because you're keeping secrets. But so you go back through the list and I know by my gut, what are the really big resentments? And those are especially the ones I need to deal with, okay?
Okay, so what's the 4th column then?
The 4th column then is I go back and I look at what was my part in it. So you were given up.
Part?
Hang on. You were given up. You were given up for adoption. You had nothing to do with, not your fault, nothing, okay? But what is your responsibility is how you dealt with that your whole life. Did you go through your whole life being a victim? Woe is me. Nobody loves me. Okay, so you have a responsibility as an adult. If you can't get over that, you need to go into counseling or something to get over that so you don't use that as a crutch and you don't use that to not be the best person you can be. So there's your responsibility.
But why do you use that term, my responsibility, in that?
Because we can't help, because there are true resentments. I have one, with a family member who, pushed me aside and excluded me and was not very nice to me, okay? And I had to take a look at that. And what I had to take a look at, in column 4, I write down what is my perceived role. So my perceived role is that I was a neglected I'm not going to give this all away on, radio, but I was a neglected so-and-so and this person favored so-and-so. Okay, so how did I deal with that? Well, when I get to the bottom about what is my real role, well, I was a neglected so-and-so who retaliated and talked about this person behind their back and said really mean things to them. And so now my behavior is really not a whole lot better than theirs, right?
Right. So what you're saying then is it's not really what is my role in it, but what is the end result of.
How have I let that impact my life?
Okay, that makes a lot more sense.
Negative or positive?
That makes a lot more sense. Yeah, interesting.
Right. Well, that's step 4. We'll wrap that up. We'll come back and talk about 5, 6, and 7. It's the 12 steps of a 12-step program brought to you today by Transformations Treatment Centers in Florida. We thank them for their sponsorship and support of this program. If you've got someone who's not dealing with life's hurts, habits, and hang-ups very well, and you think they need some help, and we all need help on something, but if it's come to the point where it's time for them to go into a treatment center and really dig deep, I encourage you to have them contact Transformations Treatment Centers. Go to our website and you'll find ways to click through to their website. RestoringHopeLive.com. Thanks for listening. We'll be right back.
Restoring hope.
All across America, there are countless numbers of people struggling with addiction and other life-controlling issues. Probably someone you know and love. There is a way out. There is hope. Transformations Treatment Center in Delray Beach, Florida, has a unique approach to substance abuse treatment. Call now and ask about our Guaranteed Success program or log on to transformationstreatment.com. Transformations. Change your life. Change your relationships. Transform your world.
Council.
So, I'm a dog, and I'm kind of new to this family, but I've noticed a trend. My humans do this thing where they go around and get all my toys and hide them in this basket, but it's always the same basket, and it's always the same place. And then they act so surprised when I find them, but I'm like, hello, that's where you put it last time. Humans are the worst at hide and go seek.
A person is the best thing to happen to a shelter pet. Be that person. Adopt. Brought to you by the Ad Council and the ShelterPetProject.org.
So, Jacqueline.
Yes, Mom?
I wanted to talk to you about something, and... Oh, wait. Hold on. I just got a text. Oh, there's another one. Wow. Busy me. So, anyway...
Oh, wait, Mom. I just got a message. My friends keep commenting on my comment. Oh, there's another one. So many comments on my comment.
Oh, I can't wait to watch TV tonight. Playoffs!
Hey guys, check out my new video game. Pew, pew.
Wait, Mom, what?
What? Hold
What'd
on.
you say? Wait a second, what?
This weekend, unplug. Take your family to the forest. There's nothing in the world like experiencing nature firsthand. Trees, paths, bluebirds, streams. Getting closer to nature can get you closer to your family. To find the forest nearest you, go to discovertheforest.org. Brought to you by the U.S. Forest Service and the Ad Council.
The Pocket Testament League presents Pocket Power. Read, carry, and share the gospel every day.
Talking with strangers is exactly opposite my personality. Very difficult and immensely stressful. But how can I keep quiet? Yesterday was the first time I've went with people from my church specifically for evangelism.
This is Mike Brickley, president of the Pocket Testament League. League members have found that any place is a good place to share a pocket gospel with someone they meet. Join us and you'll always be ready. Is there anything more important?
As we talked with people, I watched their faces change. Suspicion became interest. Interest turned to concern. Concern to guilt. But guilt became surprise and amazement. Thank you for helping me share the best gift I've been given.
What are you waiting for? Read, carry, and share the gospel every day. For more information, call 1-800-636-8785 or visit pocketpower.org. That's pocketpower.org.
Here's Dan Celia with today's Stewardship Moment.
It's always amazing to me that only 3 to 4% of Christians tithe. Listen to Ezekiel 44:30. The best of all the first fruits of your special gifts will belong to the priest. You are to give them first portions of your ground meal so that a blessing may rest on your household. It is clear that God in His Word wants us to give first fruits. And I'm sure as I do, you pray for God's blessing upon your household and your family. And as you pray for that blessing, do you give to Him what is rightfully His?
You've just heard a Stewardship Moment with Dan Celia of Financial Issues Ministry, helping you plan, give, and invest wisely. For more information, log on to financialissues.org. That's financialissues.org.
Restoring hope. Open my heart to sing. Taking the darkness inside. Revealing your light. Restoring hope.
Welcome back to Restoring Hope Live at restoringhopelive.com. All of our previous shows that we've done, we're coming up on our first year anniversary soon. They are all on our website, so you can go back and listen to them or you can watch them. We do have a visual. We call this passionate radio with pictures. We don't use the term TV because that would be an insult to our friends who do TV. This is very simple. Although Maddie's one of the best producers around, you could produce a TV show. Have you ever produced that morning show your dad does sometimes out there? Anyway, Maddie's our video producer. Eric is our audio producer, and we're very thankful to have both of those people here. Okay, diving back in on step 4.
Okay, so we've talked about the resentment side of it, and I guess I should say that in our publication it says, looking at our part, it says, so we think our troubles are basically of our own making. Once again, we go back to the first 3 steps we talked about last week, that my thinking is just out of balance and out of proportion. You know, I take everything personal. You know, I don't think everything, you know, I'm always a victim, as we talked about last week, you know, when I'm in the actual drinking phase.
So let me go back a little bit. Everything that you're focused in on is the relationship that you're in. So if I have a problem, in this case with my mom, it's not focused in on behavior. Like I have shows, I show fits of anger, or I have some sexual deviance or things like that. That's not what you're focused on. You're focused on relationships.
Focusing on, because resentments will kill me. I will drink over resentments because I'll get so angry. It says in our publication that, you know, anger is the dubious luxury of normal folk. For an alcoholic...
Wait, you said that real fast. Say it again.
That anger is the dubious luxury of normal folk. FOLK. That for an alcoholic, it's dangerous. Okay, anger.
But there's so, I mean,
and
it
resentment.
flesh itself out in so many other ways.
It can manifest itself in many ways, and you're right. And the reason we do this and look at our part is so that I am mad at my mother, but what did I do? Oh, I had these fits of rage and anger. So
but I might not be focused. I mean, I may have a fit of anger, but I might not be focused on my mother.
Well,
in other words, but the root cause of it is my mother.
Right. But if I can look at this and talk about it and see my part and see how it is manifest. So maybe my real role is that I'm angry at my mother, but it comes out in fits of rage toward my husband, my coworker, my whatever. So we are totally unpacking, to use the word you guys are using here, at what is causing my behavior that's inappropriate and that is not okay. Because ultimately, the only person that I have control over or can change is me.
Right.
But how I react to that is my responsibility.
What I'm focused on now is you start with who are you resentful in your life.
Mm-hmm.
You don't start out with what are the emotional hangups I have, like anger or sexual deviance.
Because they're going to uncover by doing this process.
So the people that are listening to the show, if you were to kind of coach them through this, and I know this is not a good venue to make this happen, but let's say if they're listening to this and they know that something's not right, what you're suggesting is one of the first things that they should do is make a list of all the people that have caused problems.
But see, I don't think they can do this on their own. That's the problem.
Yeah.
It really is meant to be walked through with somebody who's been through it, okay? Because
is there danger in that?
Doing it on their own?
Yeah, right.
Possibly, yeah. Because, see, here's the other thing. We're going to go on to steps 8 and 9, which are making amends. And you even have to do that with somebody, because who's to say that if I think I owe my ex-boyfriend an amend, it's not really just an avenue to get back into his life.
I see what you mean.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, later on when we try to repair that relationship.
Or if I'm going to make an amend to my mom, but maybe it's really going in to manipulate her behavior and get her to change. So, and the thing I want to say, the next step is step 5, and I don't want to jump there just yet because we've got a couple more things about step 4. But step 5 is that we admitted to ourselves, to God, to ourselves, and other human being, the exact nature of our wrongs. And again, it's not therapy, but it's a therapeutic process that we go through this, because none of us are licensed therapists. What we've done is we've listed our resentments, we've gone through it, and we've been led by somebody who's been through it, so we understand the process.
Okay, so you make a list, but then step 5 says to admit it to God and
to ourselves and to another human being, the exact nature of our wrongs. And before we go there, let me just say step 4, also after you do your resentments and do columns 1, 2, 3, and 4, you have to do an inventory of your fears and an inventory of your inappropriate sex relations, and there's a list of those as well. And the cool thing is...
Wait, you're saying this real fast. So you said there's two things there, our fears... And then our sex.
And then we have to look at our inappropriate sex relations, okay?
Why did they pull that out?
Well, because most people that drink end up with inappropriate sex relations. You get drunk and your inhibitions go away, and you end up in bed with people you don't even know. You end up in bed with the neighbor's wife and things you never planned to do unless you took a drink of alcohol. Not making an excuse. Not making an excuse that it was okay that it happened, because it clearly wasn't. But when I take a drink of alcohol, I lose control over anything I'm going to do. And that's just who I am, okay? And I'm not making an excuse, and I'm not saying those behaviors were okay, but that's what alcohol does to me.
Okay, so make a list. My responsibility in reaction to that.
Yes.
And then you start looking at your fears. What am I afraid of?
Right. What am I afraid of? And the way I was told to do it is to list, okay, so my fear is, I don't know, let's pick one. Anyway, I don't even know. So my fear is that
I'd be abandoned.
Okay, my fear is that I'm going to be abandoned by my mom. Okay.
Or I'd be abandoned in life.
Okay. From
nobody wants to hang out with me. I don't want to.
Yeah. Okay, my fear is I'm going to lose my friends. Okay.
Right.
So if that happens, then what? Then what? Then what? Then what? All the way until I die. So I can look at those fears all the way down, and can I face that happens? So I can see that maybe the fear isn't really as big as I thought, and the worst thing that could happen to me really isn't as bad as I thought. Does that make sense?
So you play it all out.
Yes.
You play it all out, what your fears are.
Yes.
Okay. So, and then you interject sex in there.
Yeah, it's inappropriate, sex relations. So I look at my motives. What happened? Where was I selfish? Where was I dishonest, inconsiderate? Did I arouse jealousy, suspicion, bitterness? Where was I at fault? And then what should I have done instead? So at the bottom, and then I can come up with, and it talks in our publication, it actually has a few pages about this, that the program is not going to judge anybody's sex activities, relations, whatever, but that should be between God and me. So once I can do this sex inventory, it's up to me to pray to God, to ask him what is an appropriate sexual relationship in my life, with my husband, with my wife, depending on who I am, whatever the situation is. Okay. And it puts us back to God, and for us to get in balance in that area of our life as well. There is no stone left unturned in this process.
Sure.
Okay. Now, good questions. You just jump in whenever you have. We're almost done with the fourth step now, but the most crucial part is yet to come, and that's the end of it, where we talk really about that fourth column.
Yeah. Where we just have to go in and we have to look, again, what was our part? And sometimes, as I said earlier, I am truly a victim. I did nothing wrong. But
I'm hung up on that. What is my part? It's like, okay, so you got somebody here, and they're...
Tell me, do you know somebody in your life who has had some really bad things happen to them and they just can't get past it? And every time you talk to them, woe is them, because, I'm like this because so-and-so. I'm like this because this happened. I'm like, okay, but you know what? Really, they don't have to be that way. Because if they go to God, and ask for help, or if they go through counseling, or if they're willing to deal with it, they can come out the other side, and they don't have to be a victim anymore.
Okay, so you're not talking about the offense itself. You're talking about the results of the offense.
I'm talking about how they let that offense manifest in their life. Does it hold them back? Do they blame?
Okay, so
they say that?
So when you say my part, what is my part in that offense being manifested in my life? That's what you mean by that.
Yeah.
Not
when
my
I'm a
part
true
in
victim,
the offense.
When I'm a true victim, that something's happened to me that I had no control over.
Right.
Like I was given up for adoption.
Or a girl was raped.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes.
She had no part in that.
Right.
Did not.
Right. But I go around angry because I was raped.
So what is my part, not in the rape, but what is my part in the results of a dysfunctional life?
Of how I let it impact my life. And I have a responsibility.
That's an important phrase.
I have a responsibility to not let that impact my life in a negative way. Now, for a time, it would and it should. But through the proper counseling, through the proper spiritual work, through the proper whatever the solution is, I can come out the other side, and you meet me on the street and you don't know I was raped, because I'm not woe is me and blaming my whole life because I was raped when I was 17 years old.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, clearly. But I think when I hear you say, what is my part in that offense? It's not a part in the offense.
What is my part in how the resentment, how I let it impact my life, and how I let it impact of who I am today as a human being?
That's powerful.
Okay, absolutely.
That is.
Absolutely.
This is RestoringHopeLive.com. We're running through the fourth, fifth, sixth, and seventh step of a 12-step program. Mary, who is 31 years sober, is helping us out. Go ahead and continue, Mary.
Okay, so step 5, is we admit to ourselves, to God, to ourselves, and another human being the exact nature of our wrongs. And typically you do that with a sponsor, a step guide, somebody who's been through it, who's leading you through all these steps along the way.
The exact nature of our wrong. Okay, so girl gets raped. She has to admit that she was wrong?
No, the exact nature of her wrongs. That's one of her resentments, okay? She's got 50 others maybe, all right? And she has to admit how she let it impact her life in a negative way. That for 3 years I went around and it was woe is me, and I refused to deal with it, and I wanted to be a victim. And it kept me stuck, and it kept me in a bad place in my life, and it kept me angry. okay? Not until I did this could I work through it and come out the other side and then be helpful to other people.
Do you have people, when you get to this point, that they're blaming God at that point, that God allowed that to happen?
I personally have not in my work, but I'm sure there are people. They're probably, I don't know. I don't know. Probably there are people, because nobody's
Right.
unique and different. But I mean, probably there are people that have been there.
Right.
But if you've been able to get through step 3,
Right.
you've had some reconciliation, and there's in depth. There's quite a process to get to that reconciliation with a higher power before you begin this.
It seems like they're kind of, in my way, and seeing through the faces of the people that I've been able to work with, and it seems in my mind that I'm thinking, when this is going to be a hard step, because they want to constantly throw it back on God, and they have a right to be angry.
But that's where the foundation of the first 3 steps, where you get them comfortable
Right.
with God, you get them comfortable with the relationship and help them to understand. And it's okay. Some people probably are mad at God, but then they go through this. Where
Right.
where was their role? That God didn't cause it, because there's good and bad.
What is their role in the result, in the
Yeah,
negative?
I'm sorry. I don't
right.
know how else to word
Right.
that. But what
Right.
is their role and how
Right.
they've let it impact them?
Right.
And they can see that really God was there to pick them up. If they look at what happened after the incident and see times
Right.
in their life, they can see, oh yeah, God was there. It wasn't his fault. Because, because of God allowing us to choose to have him in our life or not,
Right.
people have self-will. And that's not from the light side. That's not from the spirit of the universe. That's from the dark side. I think we would agree.
Say that again.
That when bad things happen, that it's, not from the light side, that God allows us to choose to have him in our life or not. That's, we have free will, okay? And if people that choose not to tap into that, they're coming from a different place, a different side.
Right.
But that for people that choose to have God in their life and choose to have the light, the spirit of the universe, the Holy Spirit, whatever we want to call it, Jesus, God, I forgot where I was going with that. Sorry.
But if we choose not to have that, and
then bad things happen, because
Right.
people that rob, people that murder, clearly they're not going in there with God helping them. They are choosing
Right.
not to tap into that inner resource, that spirit deep within inside of us,
Right.
because God allows us that freedom to
Right.
choose or not to
Right.
choose.
Okay.
We have 11 minutes,
Okay.
just so you know.
All right.
I had a question to ask, listening to
Sure.
everything you've been
Yeah.
discussing. Everything you're talking about seems complex and time-consuming for a person to process all this.
It is.
When you go through all these steps, is there a time frame involved, or does it depend on the person and how long it takes for them to get from step to step?
It depends on the person. This process that I'm talking to you about takes probably a minimum of 12 months and could take 18 months.
A year?
Uh-huh.
You've got to be kidding me.
No. No. It's very in depth. I mean, let's talk about this here. If we are talking about, say we just choose 35 of these, and you see my little sheets here, you have to fill out a page on 2 pages for each person. And then you have to sit down and talk to somebody about all of that. That's just the 4th and 5th step.
You
And then
mean you're talking to not the person that's offended you?
No, I'm talking to
But-
my step guide who's walking me through and
Somebody-
helping me
okay,
through when
so
I'm
you're gonna
admitting
do
to
this.
God,
Right.
myself, and to another human
Right.
being, the other human being
Right.
that I'm going through this with. And then I've got to go in and do my 8 and 9, which are my amends, make a list
Make
of
it
people
right.
that, and then,
Make it right.
write out my amends. And I mean, if you're going to be sober anyway, right? You may
have
as well
time.
take the time to do the work at this in depth. It has changed my life.
Yeah. That's the thing I want to say in here, and I've said this over and over and over. Everybody should go through this in life, but this is not a short process. And
I love this idea too about sitting down and making a list of everybody that has offended me.
Yeah.
Or has hurt me.
Right.
And I hold resentment. I think that's a healthy process.
And what role I play in it.
And what role I play in the negative impact that I
Yes.
have in my life.
Yeah, because if
Right.
everybody could do this, just think of what the world would be like. Just think if everybody knew how to deal with resentments, if everybody knew how to not be offended, and just meet people where they are.
Right.
And in the middle of that is this incredible relationship with your Savior.
Right.
That you now know that he's there. One of the things I always say is, I always believed in God. This program taught me that he believes in me.
And that's the power of the 6th step. That's when we give it
Yeah.
over to God, right?
Do we have time for me to just say something real?
Yeah, because
Okay.
we're not going to get through it all today.
Right. Okay. So, our publication, says that this, we talked about last week, it's simple, but it's not easy. A price has to be paid. It means the destruction of our self-centeredness. And it says, once we've taken this step, the 5th step, okay? It says, we can look the world in the eye, we can be alone at perfect peace, we begin to feel the nearness of our Creator. We may have had spiritual beliefs, but now we begin to have a spiritual experience, walking hand in hand with the Spirit of the universe. Because we no longer have to run from those resentments. We no longer have to run from those sexual inappropriateness, because we've talked about it. And we've looked at what would have been a better ideal. I don't have to be afraid anymore. You know, it doesn't mean that the fear is not going to come back sometimes, but I've been able to look at all of this on paper, and I've talked to another human being about it, and no longer is it just crazy in my head. And I've been able to look at it and deal with it.
So number 6 is where we give it over to God? Is that what we do?
Number 6 is about our character defects. And number 6 says that we're entirely ready to have God remove all these defects of character. So in number 6, from the 4th and 5th step, we have a list of character defects: the anger, the self-righteousness, the retaliation, the dishonesty, the whatever. So we list our character defects, okay? And you know, and there could be others, but we list them. Admitting our character defects is just one more level to destroy our ego. And then the ironic thing is, some people want to hang on to those character defects because they think they're helping them.
They're life-giving.
And that's a delusion. They think, well, how can I, you know, I have this great self-confidence, and I'm the number one salesman in my company, and how am I? Oh, okay. Well, you need to take a look at that, you know, because the ego is not okay no matter whose world you're in, okay? You know, and then step 7 simply states, humbly asked him to remove our shortcomings. And step 7 is a prayer. And see, the whole thing is, it said, willing to let God remove these defects of character, okay? And so we can't do it. We have to get to a point of willingness to A, write them down, and then B, to let God
Do you ever
take
have
them
people
away.
that come in and they say, well, God didn't remove it yet? So
Well, you know, there are, and it's interesting, there's times, again, if I'm willing and I say the prayer and I really mean it, as you know, God will have his way with me. Okay?
Yeah, right.
And I will admit that for years, I kept some of my character defects because I thought they served me well.
Right.
And I wasn't willing to let go of them. And I will also tell you that there's one I'm really struggling with right now. And I've prayed and prayed and prayed, and I'm not sure what's going on.
Right.
But there's some kind, it's either still in me that I'm not willing, you know, I just can't get there. You know, I forget to pray in the situation or whatever. But in the gentleman that has taken me through this says he laughs when he hears people say, I'm working on that character defect. And his comment is, work on it all you want because you're not going to change it, you know, because the only person that can change it is God or Jesus, you know, our higher power. Because in and of ourselves, if we could change, we wouldn't need to be here and do this process.
So what you're talking about really is dying to self.
Yes.
If you're going to go humbly ask him to remove,
yes,
your choice also is that you have to die to yourself.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Do we need to take a break?
No, we're not. No, we're good for another 7 minutes.
Okay.
Go ahead. What were you going to say?
I was just going to say, you know, as we go on, and it talks about having had a spiritual awakening, that would indicate possibly that we have been spiritually asleep. And this program is designed to awaken within us the spirituality that's already there that we haven't tapped into.
But if you don't trust God.
But this process gets us there. This process gets us there. Trust me.
Right. If you don't trust God, though, it's going to...
That's why steps, you asked me last week, do you spend a lot of time in 1, 2, and 3? Not any more than some of the others, but 1, 2, and 3 are the foundation to get us... Again, 2, you make a decision about a higher power, and step 3, you make a decision to have a relationship with that higher power.
Can you identify that one time when you said, I've changed?
Oh. Why don't you say that about me? You knew me before. How have I changed?
Oh, man. Well, you don't rip into people like you used to. Okay. That's for sure. Yeah, the old Mac is gone. That's for sure. But was there one time, can you remember that time when you said, you know what? I think God's taken that out of my life.
Yeah.
There is...
Jealousy.
Jealousy.
Yeah. Yeah, for me, I discovered that I sometimes, and this is really hard to admit, but I'm just going to say it, that I was jealous of my own kids because my wife is an amazing mother. Okay. And she can sit here and love you and nurture you as her child and then look at me and say, you dirty dog, get away from me. You make me mad. And I used to just come unglued because, my wife is picking our children over me.
Right.
The other one, I'll tell you, for me was lust.
Ah.
I had a hard time not looking at most women thinking about what could happen naturally.
Right.
And I just don't. God has taken that away from me. Oh, if I want to sit over here and screw around with the accuser a little bit, I can come back to that, but it doesn't happen anymore. I really see people for the goodness inside of them and the spirit, rather than the formation of the body and the color of the hair and the beautiful eyes.
Right.
And let me say that, another part of the step 4, I was given a prayer for freedom from resentment to say against my deep resentments. And I had to make a list of those deep resentments. And there were 2 people that I deeply resented. And I started saying the prayer, and I had to say it every day for each person until the resentment was gone. I went to visit those people, and I was like halfway through the weekend.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, what the heck?
Yeah.
And I called my step guide and I said, I'm not sure I trust that. Oh my gosh, it was gone. I've resented these people for X amount of years. And I went there and I just don't even care.
Yeah.
How does that happen?
I had somebody in my life that I couldn't stand to be around, and I had to be with this family member. And I spent 3 days with that family member just 2 weeks ago, and it was the same thing.
Check your gut and it's gone.
It's like in the middle of it, it's like, wow, I love this person. I don't have any of this formation of bad feelings. It's pretty cool.
And then that's where the real freedom from alcohol starts to come.
Yeah.
It doesn't have that
grip
power
on
over your
you
life.
anymore.
Yeah, it doesn't have that grip.
And we've let it, and we've drank over it, and we've been mad over it, and we've been whatever over it, and it's destroyed our lives.
Right.
Absolutely.
Yeah. It's destroyed our lives. That's exactly right. It talks about in, I believe it's Corinthians, 2 Corinthians, talks about maturing. And when we come to Christ, we mature as an individual, and it has a lot to do with, honor thy father and thy mother, the fourth commandment. It's hard to honor thy father and thy mother if, in fact, you don't have a spiritual maturity. Okay.
I can see how this fleshes it. This may be a cheesy illustration, but this week I got stuck in New York, and I was literally mad at the company that hired me to go out, and they couldn't get me back. And so Leanne and my wife and I, are on the diet, the New Year's Eve diet. So I remember thinking, fine. And if they're going to do that, I'm just going to go eat, and I'm going to get off my diet. Stopped by at Dunkin' Donuts, had 2 donuts, haven't had any sugar since the beginning of the year. And I remember thinking, that was stupid.
You punished yourself.
Yeah, that's
but
right.
The accuser won.
But it was resentment.
Right.
It was fleshing out the resentment that I had toward the company, and I was the one who suffered for it now.
I've heard people say in the program, you just keep that resentment, and you go to bed and you stay awake and don't sleep while that person's sleeping like a baby at their house.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah, you're letting that person live rent free in your brain.
Yeah.
And all they're doing, and it's the accuser. It's the I can't say the word on the radio, but it would be the vulgar term for the word feces, and it rhymes with committee. And it's that committee that lives in your head and just eats your lunch day after day.
Right.
All right, you're going to be gone next week.
I am.
So when you return in 2 weeks, we'll wrap up 4. We kind of need to put a cherry on it, and then talk about 5. And I think one of the things that Mary said that's really important, Mike, for you to understand, is this has to be done with another person. It has to be done with someone who you have said, make me accountable, hold me accountable. You have permission.
Why?
To hold.
There's somebody who's been through the process so they understand it. Somebody who's already been through the process so they can lead you the way they've been led. That's the importance of it.
This is very much a traditional, like my father, like my grandfather, like his father before him and his father. You've got to have this line of people who know what's going on here because it's crucial. All right, thanks for Transformations Treatment Center. They support this program. If you need anything, if you want to talk, if you want to explore some things that might be going on in your life, send me an email. I answer my own email. Go to restoringhopelive.com, and I'd love to hear from you. And until I talk to you next week, for Bob, Dr. Mike, Mary, Maddie, and Eric, do one thing for us, would you? Just one? Just pray. God bless.